My name is Susie and I'm a first year maths student. I'm joined today by Nilusha.
Hi, I'm Nilusha and I'm a second year maths student.
And today we are just going to kind of be going over housing for year 2. So obviously as a second year student you've been through that and you will have looked at it when it was like not COVID times versus when I was looking at stuff for COVID times.
Yeah.
So just like those two perspectives, I think.
Yeah.
I guess like when we were looking at houses, like as with everyone else, you kind of have the things that are important to you. So the things that were important to us were the location and the price. That was like the first two things we were really looking at. So for us personally, we wanted to be in Leamington because just like the social life, just in terms of like we felt like, because obviously in COVID, in year 1 we haven't been able to do a lot of socialising, so having that next year is going to be really nice. And then South Leamington is a lot cheaper than North Leamington, so that was what we were looking at.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess regardless of COVID, that is kind of the same thing. So we had the same thing. We did originally plan to live in Leamington, and then we actually realised that we care more about kind of the quality of our house, and we wanted a nice house rather than kind of a party house. So we ended up coming to Canley. But obviously we have had that chance in first year to meet people, and we do go to parties, but it's easier for us because we have like maybe 5 or 6 households that we all know as a household, and we can go there whenever they're running events and stuff like that.
Whereas I feel like we're going to do a lot of like meeting new people next year, so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
How many people were you finding a house for as well? Because we ended up, there are 8 of us finding a house, which was quite large.
Yeah.
So how many was it for you?
So I found a house with 6 people, and I think 6 is also considered large. So anything over 5 is considered like a larger house. So obviously we had a different system where we could look on Warwick and they had houses available for us. So we just kind of managed to find 6 people houses like that. But I don't know, how was it finding a house for 8 people?
The thing is, it wasn't like as difficult as I was expecting, because there are quite a few like large houses out there. And when we were first looking at houses, I think there were initially, I mean, we had some people drop out when they said they were going to live with us and ended up not. But I think we had like about 5 or 6 core people who were looking. And then when we found a house for 8 people, it was kind of like, well, we can invite more people in.
Oh, okay.
So we were looking at it from kind of like a, you know, we wouldn't mind going somewhere bigger, but we can like deal with it somewhere smaller as well.
Yeah.
As well, like the bigger houses did fill up very quickly, especially in Leamington because it's a very popular location. I mean, there were a couple of houses that we were looking at, and then like the next day it would be gone.
Yeah.
And we were looking at it around Christmas time, so we were, you know, not like, it seems to be like Christmas time was the common time for people to be finding accommodation. I don't know if that's...
I think that's pretty standard actually.
Yeah.
Maybe not for second years finding accommodation, but definitely in first year it was kind of, you need a group by Christmas. And we actually signed our contract in February, but I think we did it quite late compared to everyone else. Everyone else did have houses, and you know, you do miss houses because you didn't prepare earlier.
But then at the same time, like, I know some people who have kind of like rushed into housing contracts, and then, you know, like however many months, like 8 months later or whatever, they're kind of like, I wish that I'd like taken a bit more time to think it through.
Yeah.
Because I think it is very like easy to panic about it. And I know people who have like waited until basically the last minute to get accommodation. Personally, I could never, because it would be just so stressful for me. But you know, there is stuff out there. But if you have like specific needs, like you want to be in a specific place, or like you have a big house, then I think getting it earlier is just like easier to get sorted.
Yeah, absolutely.
What were you like physically looking for when you went into a house? Like, because I guess you guys would have had like actual in-person viewings, as opposed to we had to do a lot of stuff online, and then I think the only house that we actually went to go see was the house that we've now ended up in.
Okay.
And they only let in like 3 of us. We had to be wearing masks the entire time. We couldn't like stay in there too long and stuff, you know.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like looking at it online is almost the same, but the difference is now if you go in, you can kind of get a feel of the size.
Yeah.
Whereas that's a bit harder on camera. But I think what we were looking for a lot was, and I think this is really actually quite important, is storage space. Because you saw our kitchen, it's small, but it just about has enough space for 6 people.
It looks like it works.
With the squeeze, but there's only 5 of us living here at the moment. So we are a bit worried about next year. But we went to one house and they had no cupboards in the kitchen. And that's not something you think about when you view a house. You're kind of thinking about, oh, what's my bedroom like, that kind of thing. You need to look at the kitchen, you need to look at the cupboard space, because it is such a pain to bring your cooking stuff downstairs every meal time. That would be awful. So I think, that's what we were most looking out for. And then just generally, does the house look like it's falling apart? Mold in the showers, stuff like that. Those are problems that, as a university student, I don't even know if it's physically possible to get rid of mold in the showers. I have no idea.
Can confirm it is. I've had some experiences with mold.
Okay, fair enough.
In my accommodation.
Is it quite difficult? I'm very scared of mold.
Honestly, it was just a lot of like mold removal spray. It was actually better than expected, but that's not something I want to deal with again next year. So I was like asking a lot of questions about like, have you ever had problems with like rats or insects? Like,
oh gosh,
stuff like that.
Questions.
It's the kind of stuff which is like, it happens more than you expect. But you still don't want it to happen to you, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Like, did you get to speak to the kind of people living in the house?
Yeah, so when we were first looking at it, I think when we like tried to make a booking or whatever, we got put in contact with the landlady, who then gave us the contact information with some of the people who were living there. That's been really nice, because they've been really helpful with like, we messaged them asking about like bills and stuff, like if we could take over any of their contracts, like how good their internet is, things like that. They've all been lovely about that, you know, they've all been helpful and like answered our questions. They were also as well able to do, because so only 3 of us were allowed in for like the physical viewing, but one of the guys who lived there, he was so nice about it. He just, I think it was on like WhatsApp or something, he was just walking around with his camera on.
Oh, that's
like,
so nice.
Showing us all the rooms and stuff, which was really useful.
That's good.
Like in the height of lockdown where we couldn't like, you know, like actually go there at that point.
That was good.
Okay, so you have your accommodation, like it was through like a Warwick scheme, right?
Yeah.
So whereas like we went through an independent, or it wasn't independent, it's through like a state agency and stuff. So what was the contract like for you? Do you like that safety net with Warwick? Because it was definitely very scary, kind of like it's the proper estate agents, we're signing a proper contract. As opposed to like first year of com.
I know what you mean, so the Warwick one, I mean, I didn't really read it, and I was kind of like, this is going to be fine, it's Warwick, if something goes wrong, I know that they won't screw me over kind of thing. But we actually did have to recently sign the contract for this house now with the landlord privately, so we didn't even go through an estate agent.
Oh, okay.
We just signed a piece of paper, and that was quite scary. My friend's dad is a lawyer, so it was a lot of let's scan the contract and send it to all of our parents, and if someone spots something, we will bring it up with the landlord kind of thing. But I think it's also quite daunting talking to a landlord, because you know, you're giving them your money, you're living in their house. It's very different to talking to, you know, your property manager from Warwick, because I mean that's just someone whose job it is to manage the property, and they don't actually kind of own the house or anything, they're just managing it.
Yeah, like they don't have a stake in it, whereas like, you know, obviously I feel like if like the landlady like seems very lovely from like everything that I've seen of her, but like if we, you know, like accidentally like put a hole through the wall or something, she is going to be mad at us. Like we're going to be on the line for that, as opposed to like at student accommodation, it's kind of like understood where they're like, well, all I have to do is fix it. Like, you know, I'm not gonna like charge you more rent, or I'm not gonna like make you like call some construction or something about it.
Exactly. So I guess that's why with these contracts you have to give a deposit. Did you have to, on signing, give a deposit?
Yes, so we had to give, I think it was a month's worth each. I know some of our friends have done like a week's worth, but yeah, it was a month's worth from each of us, which that was actually something that we didn't anticipate going in. We knew that we all had to pay it, but we assumed that we could make separate transfers. What actually happened is they wanted like one lead tenant to just make one big transfer, which ended up being, obviously like $1,000, like $1,000 or maybe it was more, maybe it was like three. It was a surprisingly large amount of money basically.
Yeah.
And we just had the one guy who, because he'd been the one to click like book a viewing or whatever, he was just like, oh, well, the landlady knows me, I'll be the lead tenant, which meant that we had one very stressful night of, when we went to go see the house, the landlady was basically like, there's another group looking at this who they say they want to make an offer, so if you want to make an offer, I'd recommend you do it now, which could be, one of those techniques that they use to try and get you in. But we were all like, we'd found a house that we liked the location, we liked the look of it. So we had that one night, our lead tenant just suddenly found himself, everyone transferring him like 300 quid or something, and then him having to like find a way of transferring that, because it's like a large sum of money.
Yeah, of course.
Then the bank were like trying to make sure it wasn't a scam, trying to make sure he wasn't frauding anyone.
Yeah.
And he was just sat there like, I guess I'm lead tenant now, like,
yeah, that must
so
be stressful. I mean, when we signed our contract, we specifically said to our landlord, we're actually quite close with our landlord, he comes and fixes everything for us, but we said to him, like, we don't want to have a lead tenant as such, because I think the worry is that someone will be late and then the money will obviously have to still go to the landlord. And I mean, no one wants to be covering £300 for someone else. I mean, university students don't have the money to be covering. It's not even, because we pay termly for our house still with our student loan. So it would be like, literally, if someone misses their rent, you are paying £1,000 for them.
Which you don't want to be doing.
No one has that kind of money. I mean, some people do, but like, I don't. And I couldn't do that, and I don't think any of my housemates could cover something like that either. So we decided to make it separately. We all transfer to the landlord, and we just agreed everyone will transfer you on the same day, and we will specify which day it is and tell you when we've all done it, kind of thing, so that, if someone can't pay, then we can all kind of split it between us, rather than one person having to foot a £1,000 bill for a bit while the person who can't pay kind of gets the money together. Yeah.
See, like, that's something we're sorting out now with, like, because I think we want to have kind of a similar thing where it's not just on one person. I mean, there have been a lot of like conversations had about like we could like make a new account which we all like have access to, but then like the legality of it, and then like we could just all pay one person in like a lead tenant style thing, but then if one person misses, then that person is responsible for paying it back and could like mess up their credit score. So it's definitely like something we have to do a lot of research into, like the money sides of things, which is like so scary, because the first year, even though it is like you're like becoming an independent adult to some extent, Warwick make it very easy with accommodation to just 3 payments termly, as opposed to like having to like go through your own independent stuff. Yeah,
we tried to keep it like that as much as we could, and honestly, talk to your landlord and see what they say. Yeah. Because they know you're a student, they know what students kind of pay like. I think hopefully they'll be understanding.
Yeah, like she seems like a very nice lady, so I'm like hoping that we will be able to like build that like relationship with her. It's going to be like understood.
Yeah, don't be afraid to talk to your landlord. If something breaks, tell your landlord. Just like, your landlord is the personal tutor of your house.
Oh my goodness, such a like fun metaphor. I love that.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Well then, I guess like as a little summary, just the kind of things that you're looking out for when you're like looking at housing. It's just like how expensive it is, where it is it like, are you going to be happy like being there, like how big the rooms are and stuff like that, and just like try and like keep an eye on the legality of it. Like,
yeah, definitely look out for the contracts and stuff. And something you said that I learned from was ask about pest control. because you do not want rats in your house.
No, just if there are going to be any like surprises of just things that genuinely, we went to the viewing with like a list of things, and some of the things that the questions I was asking, like my friends were like, why are you asking? But like things like water pressure, which like someone else had mentioned to me, like they were like, oh, the water pressure here is so awful. I wouldn't have thought to ask that.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point.
But yeah, I'm not dealing with like a shower that's like nothing.
Do you know what? There's no shame in turning up with a paper with questions on it. Actually, literally. Warwick has this like web page, and they literally have like a checklist of stuff to ask, and some of it's like ridiculous. Like it's like, does the roof leak? Like, if they're selling the house, I would hope that the roof didn't leak. But yeah, stuff like that. I mean, people won't get mad at you for asking.
Exactly.
So just ask, because
like,
you might catch something. Yeah. And talk to the people who live in the house already. Yeah. I think, I don't know if everyone's had what you had, but if you are able to, I think that's really good. Like, I think you're quite lucky to have been able to talk to them while there's COVID.
It was definitely really useful, like, because any questions that we had, like, they could answer, like, honestly and directly. So. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay then. Well, I hope this has been useful, all of you who are looking at your accommodation or thinking about your accommodation for next year. Have a nice day, and I'll see you all in the next video.